Your baby's first year is not just about cute milestones and that monthly blanket photo, although we are absolutely here for the rolls, the smiles, and the tiny thigh dimples. The first year is one of the most important windows your child will ever have for neurological development. Your baby's brain is growing at an incredible speed, forming over 1 million neural connections every single second, which means the foundation being built in this season matters so much. But here's where it gets tricky. Most parents are told to watch for milestones like smiling and rolling and sitting and crawling and walking. If something feels off, they often hear, well, let's just wait and see, or they'll probably grow out of it. But what if your baby is checking the milestone boxes while their nervous system is still struggling underneath? A baby can pass a basic developmental screening and still have stress patterns affecting feeding, sleep, digestion, movement, and regulation. The traditional model usually asks whether your baby can do the thing. Those milestones matter, but what often gets missed is how their body is doing those things. Is that roll smooth and symmetrical? Or are they always going one direction? Are they using both sides evenly? Are they building coordination from the proper foundation? Or are they compensating like a tiny, adorable little overachiever? That is why so many families come into our office saying, I knew something was off, but everyone just told me not to worry about it. Parents notice the tension, the reflux, the constipation, the head preference, the feeding struggles, poor sleep, maybe difficult tummy time, constant fussiness, or the feeling that their baby just cannot fully settle. But because their baby is technically on track, those concerns often get brushed aside. So today we're going to talk about why the nervous system matters so much in that first year, what signs parents can watch for beyond the milestone checklist, and why waiting is not always the best answer. The easiest way to understand your baby's nervous system is to think of it like air traffic controller for the body. So it coordinates everything beneath the surface. That includes sleep, digestion, feeding, movement, immune function, sensory processing, and emotional regulation. During the first year, your baby's brain has an incredible ability to build new pathways, adapt, and change. This is called neuroplasticity, and is one of the reasons babies grow so quickly. But that same neuroplasticity also makes the nervous system more vulnerable to stress. So when stress enters the system early, whether from prenatal stress, a difficult birth, birth interventions, tension in the head and the neck, or feeding and sleep challenges, the nervous system can begin adapting around that stress. In our office, we often talk about subluxation as neurological interference in that neurospinal system. So it's a complex pattern of stress that can affect alignment, motion, and most importantly, the way the brain and the body communicate. Now, when that interference is present early in life, it can affect a baby's ability to regulate, adapt, and move through development the way they were designed to. We also talk about dysautonomia. This is an imbalance in the autonomic nervous system. This is the part of the nervous system that runs the automatic functions. So things like heart rate, digestion, sleep cycles, immune responses, and calming down after stress. We often explain it as the gas pedal and the brake pedal. So the sympathetic side, or the gas pedal, activates and protects. And then the parasympathetic side, or the brake pedal, helps the body rest, digest, heal, and regulate. Babies need both, but they need them working in rhythm. When a baby gets stuck with too much gas pedal and not enough brake pedal, feeding, sleeping, digestion, tummy time, and settling can all become harder. And when that foundation is stressed, every milestone that follows is being built on shaky ground. This is why every milestone is really a neurological test. It is not just about whether your baby does something, it's about how their nervous system organizes the body to make the milestone happen. Latching and feeding, they're some of the first neurological assessments your baby will ever take. Feeding may seem simple, but it requires multiple cranial nerves, coordinated sucking, swallowing and breathing, proper muscle tone through the jaw, neck, and tongue, and enough regulation to stay calm through the entire process. So when a baby struggles with latching, nursing, bottles, reflux, gas, and feeding fatigue, we see the nervous system waving a little flag that something is harder than it should be. Head control is another big one. As babies begin lifting and turning their heads, we're watching how the cervical spine, deep neck muscles, and nervous system are working together. Is their head control developing evenly? Do they always turn one direction? Do they hate tummy time because their little body is working way too hard to stabilize and coordinate? Then comes the famous 4-month sleep regression. Parents hear that phrase all of the time, but it is not really a regression. It's a major neurological reorganization. So sleep schedules are changing, awareness is increasing, and the brain is going through a developmental upgrade. For a baby with a regulated nervous system, that transition may be a little bit bumpy, but it's manageable. For a baby already carrying stress, that season can feel like everything falls apart. And then crawling is another milestone we pay close attention to because it's one of the most neurologically significant milestones of the first year. So crawling is not just about transportation. It helps both sides of the brain communicate, builds right-left coordination, it strengthens the spine, the shoulders, the hips, and the core, and supports motor planning, sensory integration, walking, learning, focus, and even reading. That is why the sequence of development matters far more than the speed. Faster is not always better. A baby who skips crawling or crawls asymmetrically may still walk on time, but the nervous system may have missed a really important step in building the foundation. We are not here to panic parents over every variation, but the pattern does matter. The quality matters, the symmetry matters. That foundation, it matters. So why do some babies struggle more than others? That is where we like to talk about what we call the perfect storm, which describes how stressors stack up before birth, during birth, and after birth, eventually overwhelming a baby's developing nervous system. For some babies, that stress starts during pregnancy. Maternal stress, chronic tension, illness, inflammation, or emotional stress can all influence the environment that baby is developing in. That does not mean moms did anything wrong. That is not about guilt. It's about understanding that the nervous system, it's always listening, it's always adapting, and it's always responding. And then birth adds another layer. Birth is amazing, but is also physically intense. Interventions like Pitocin, forceps, vacuum extraction, C-section can place stress on the baby's head, neck, and spine, and their nervous system. Even births that look uncomplicated can still be stressful on baby's body. And then after birth, disrupted sleep, overstimulation, early antibiotic exposure, feeding struggles, tongue or lip ties, digestive issues, and constant crying can all push the nervous system further into stress mode. Over time, that gas pedal can get stuck down and the brake pedal has a hard time doing its job. That is when babies may often seem uncomfortable, tense, fussy, rigid, sensitive, or like they just cannot fully relax into their body. That is not about blame. It is about recognizing the pattern so we can support the baby in front of us. When we understand why a baby is struggling, we can stop treating every symptom like a separate problem and start looking at the nervous system as the foundation underneath it all. This is why the whole wait and see approach can miss such an important window. A baby can pass a screening while still compensating through tension, asymmetrical movement, poor coordination, skipped developmental stages, or stress patterns that are not obvious unless someone who is trained to look for them. They may be gaining weight, but struggling through feedings. They may sleep enough hours, but only because they are exhausted from becoming dysregulated all day. They may walk on time, but skip crawling completely. The problem with waiting is that the first year is when neuroplasticity is at its peak. This is when the nervous system is the most adaptable and when gentle, specific support can make a profound difference because the foundation is still being built. So please hear this. Your instincts matter. If you feel like something is off, you're not being dramatic, you are not being high maintenance, and you are not just a worried mom. Parents are usually the first ones to notice when their baby is struggling, even when they do not really have the words for what they are seeing yet. That is where neurologically focused chiropractic care comes in. So at E320 Chiropractic, we look at the nervous system first because it's the system that's running the show. We use advanced insight scanning technology to objectively measure nervous system function through gentle, non-invasive scans that look at heart rate variability, they look at muscle tension patterns, and they look at temperature regulation. And because this is usually one of the first questions parents have, infant adjustments are incredibly gentle. We are not twisting, cracking, or forcing anything. The amount of pressure, we often compare it to checking the ripeness of a tomato. It is specific, it's gentle, and adapted to your baby's age, size, development, and needs. The goal is to be proactive and support the nervous system function from the very beginning. Because when the foundation is stronger, everything built on top of it has a better chance to develop the way it should. If feeding feels harder than what you think it should, if sleep is a constant battle, if your baby seems tense, uncomfortable, delayed, overstimulated, or like they just cannot fully settle, those are all signs that are worth paying attention to. You do not have to panic and you do not have to figure it out alone, but also do not have to wait until the struggle gets bigger before getting that support. So if something feels off, trust that instinct. Click the link in our bio. You can send us a message or you can call our office to schedule your baby's first neurological evaluation with our team at E320 Chiropractic. Your baby is building the neurological foundation for their entire life, and we would love to help make sure that that foundation is strong.